Big data has gotten too big. Whether you're a B2B marketer or a consumer brand, your data needs to be viable, relevant, and accessible so that Stirista can help you retain customers, acquire customers, and make it personal.
Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista, probably the most entertaining marketing podcast you're going to put in your ear. I'm Vin, the associate producer here at Stirista. The goal of this podcast is to chat with industry leaders and get their take on the current challenges of the market. And we'll have a little fun along the way. In today's episode, Ajay and Vincent chat with Jay Jaffin, a CMO at Blackhawk Network. He talks about diverse use cases as a marketer and the effectiveness of a referral program for customers. Vincent sees a Broadway show, and AJ plays 14 hours of tennis. Give it a listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stirista's The Marketing Stir. I, of course, am your host, Vincent Petrofessa, the Vice President of B2B Products and Partnerships here at Stirista. Well into season three, ladies and gentlemen. If you remember from the last episode, I missed a portion of the episode. Yeah, hopefully you listened and you know why. But I'm back. How dare I miss it? AJ had too much fun, kicking off the intro. And I'm, of course, referring to my co-host, Mr. Ajay Gupta. We'll get to him in a moment. But before, just a few words about Stirista. Who are we? If you're a new listener, Stirista, we are a marketing technology company. We own our own business-to-business data, business-to-consumer data. We help companies utilize that data through our own technology. We send email. Acquisition. We own our own DSP called Adster, Connected TV, Display, OTT. Email me, vincent@stirista.com. That is how confident I am. I just gave you my email address. Nice and simple. Doesn't include my last name, vincent@stirista.com. And now back to my co-host. Ladies and gentlemen, I get to see him very soon, Mr. Ajay Gupta.
Hey, Vincent, how was your weekend?
It was great. It was a great weekend. The New York Giants have been winning. By the time this comes out, who knows? They might be losing again. And we just get another high draft pick. But weekend was great. I actually went to go see the Broadway show Come From Away, AJ, Come From Away. One of the, you get back to, it's the first show I've been to since the pandemic as far as Broadway. It was a matinee. It was packed. And, I just stopped for a moment, took a breath and said, it's good to have people back, because concerts have been back, but there's nothing more New York City than Broadway. There isn't, in my opinion. And that show was actually going off the air. It was going off of Broadway. It's been on there for many years. So I caught the last of the three performances. It was amazing. True story about Newfoundland and September 11th. But yeah, it was great. How about yours? I rumor has it you guys were playing a lot of tennis this weekend.
Yeah, I clocked about 14 hours of tennis matches over 2.5 days. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm in one piece still, but actually the whole body hurts right now, so I don't know which parts have survived. We'll find out in the next couple of days. So,
yeah, I know. Isn't it crazy? You're like, wait, I didn't even know I had a muscle in that area. How is it hurting?
Exactly. Yeah, it's weird because I'm right-handed and my left shoulder is hurting now, but I think it's from tossing balls to serve. So it's the weirdest thing.
Just that motion there. It's like I need physical therapy. That's where we are in life now. It's crazy. Did you win? Was it like for a competition or just for fun?
It was kind of for fun, but as you know, there's not a whole lot our tennis team does just for fun. So there's some competition involved. So yeah, I ended up winning the 4-5 consolation bracket. So we lost to the winners of the main draw, and but we had a pretty good run in the consolation bracket. So we took the other half. So
that's okay. That's all right. You guys are just getting ready for the real season. It's good. And then when this comes out, maybe it's right around, if it comes out in a couple weeks or so, or maybe we will either be attending Ad Week or we had just attended Ad Week. And right. AJ is one of the speakers there on a cool panel along with Chad Engelgau, who has also been on this podcast, Serge Mata from LG Ads. There's also Mebulin Francisco, right? So it's a great panel at Ad Week. Looking forward to that and everyone coming into New York City. But let's get into it, AJ. I love doing this podcast because we get to meet so many great people, so many great guests. And this platform allows us to do it because, I would love to meet Jay in person, a little sneak peek of who's coming on because, as conferences come back, but this is the second best thing. The next best thing is being able to do this. Ladies and gentlemen, please a warm welcome from our Marketing Stir listeners to the CMO of Blackhawk Network. Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Jaffin. What's going on, Jay?
Hey, Vincent. Wow, I was just enjoying listening to you guys talk about your weekend. That was fun. I will tell you, it's kind of interesting. You you mentioned like getting a little sore, AJ. I completely can relate to that. What makes it worse is I've got a 15-year-old son now that is like a better athlete than I could ever wish to be, and I go to his meets every Saturday, and he gets done with this race. He averages like a 5-minute 20-second mile for 3 miles, and like I feel like throwing up just watching him. It's just like he's just, and then he gets done, he's like, oh yeah, I'm good, I'm ready for the next race. It's like, oh my gosh, I just I can't even remember when I was in that good a shape. So anyway, thank you for having me.
I definitely agree.
I can remember, unfortunately, but I cannot even attempt to do a 5-minute mile anymore.
No.
So
No way.
Yeah, I can't even get dressed in 5 minutes anymore. It takes a long time. We talk about to our listeners here. They know that a few months ago I like sneezed awkwardly, and I had 6 weeks of physical therapy. True story. I guess
Vincent,
yeah.
That's happened to me. I've sneezed and like you screw up something in your back. You're like,
yeah.
What is wrong with me?
Oh, I know. I was good. So it's not just me. Thank you, Jay, for helping me feel better about that. But Jay, it's so awesome to talk to you again. I want to get right into it here. The CMO, Blackhawk Network. Talk to the listeners there. Blackhawk Network. What is it? What's some of your roles there as the CMO, your day-to-day? I'd love to learn more about it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll start with who Blackhawk is. Blackhawk Network, our origin business, what we call our origin or our legacy business, really started about 20 years ago inside Safeway, which is, one of the largest grocery retailers. And our CEO, Talbot Roche, who was part of Safeway at the time, kind of co-founded this company, and they had this great idea. They were trying to do what retailers are always trying to do, which is figure out how to get new segments into the store, how to increase foot traffic, how to increase basket size. And they had this great idea. They're like, look, what about gift cards? Let's try that. And they set up the first gift card mall within a store, which are those racks that you typically see at an end cap or at the end of an aisle. And the rest is really history. It did really well. It accomplished and exceeded the goals that they set out, and it just sort of built from there. And it got to the point where it was a big enough business to spin out, and so it went public. And about 4 years ago, Silver Lake Partners brought us private, and that was really so we can do a lot of the integration work. We had done a ton of acquisitions over the years, and there was an opportunity for us to get some of that hard work done so we could really accelerate our growth trajectory. So that's sort of the business at a high level. Let's talk a little bit more at the ground level about what we do. Today we still do gift cards. That's the origin business. We do so much more than that, though, in the payment space. We've got about 37,000 corporate and government and not-for-profit partners worldwide. We operate in 28 countries. And really, that partnership, what we call the network, that's why we call ourselves Blackhawk Network, because it's that network of partners that's really the power behind our business, enable us to offer the widest selection of branded and customized gift cards in the world. I like to think of us as bringing branded moments of delight to consumers. That moment where you get that gift card and wow, all of a sudden it's like it's free money. Doesn't it feel that way when you get it? And you get excited. And so who doesn't love being in that kind of business? a little bit more about just our footprint. We've got about 400,000 locations and points of presence worldwide. So we sell in, a ton of different places. We sell across the digital landscape. So we've got our own websites like giftcards.com, got partner sites like Ibotta. We also enable the programs of a lot of our large brands like, Starbucks and Home Depot. And then, the use cases beyond just that, what we all know of as a gift card are really limitless. We've got our products, help enable employers, for example, who want to reward their employees to do so in very unique ways. We integrate with loyalty programs. So you think about your favorite airline loyalty program, financial institutions like Chase. They're allowing their customers now to cash out some of their points for gift cards, because what they found is that that's what consumers want. Or as a consumer incentive, that could be for taking a survey, for buying a new product, or as a rebate on a new set of tires. Such a diverse set of use cases. And as the CMO here, that one is a much more, is a much simpler answer. I do marketing here. So I've got an amazing team of marketers. I've been here about 4 months. So I'm fairly new to the game. Luckily for me, I've got an incredible team, everything from content, demand gen, brand marketing, PR and comms. And then of course, we've got teams all over the world that execute locally and help us drive demand and leads locally. So that's a little bit about us and me.
Nice. Yeah, no, thanks for that. The explanation, Jay, really paints a nice picture there. Jay, you're new there, but you're certainly not new to marketing or even CMO. Some great organizations as well that you've worked in the past. Talk to us about how you got into marketing. It's one of our questions that our listeners love because it's variety of different stories. So talk to us how you got into marketing.
Yeah, I probably like a lot of people in their careers. Part of it is time and place, and part of it is, the direction you're purposely heading or trying to push your career. I had an interesting start in marketing, though. I studied economics at UC Berkeley. In my head, I was going to go work for the Federal Reserve and be a policymaker and go get a PhD. And wow, what a bad idea that would have been. I respect those people, but in retrospect, like that wasn't going to be me. Luckily I realized that early on. I was going to school in the late 90s. This in the Bay Area, exciting time. This is when the dot-com boom started. And I had a lot of friends who were doing some really, really interesting things out there. And, a couple of them convinced me, hey, look, PhD, maybe later, not right now. So I started to work, ironically, again, in the Bay Area where tech was booming for a research company, not necessarily a tech company, but it was a company called IRI, Information Resources. Their claim to fame was they got the scanner data off of, grocery, mass merchant retailers. And my job was really to create analytics around that. I've always been quantitative in nature. And try to sell marketers, brand managers, VPs of marketing at CPG companies, the value of that data. And it was a great way to start. It let me sink my teeth into something that touched marketing because I always had like an interest in marketing. I never saw it as a career. But in those early days, I realized, wow, this was really interesting stuff. I love connecting dots. I love analytics. But I also love when you could apply that to real world stories. So stories about how, your actions as a brand manager are translating into consumer demand. So anyway, to make the rest of the story short, from there, I had a couple of other gigs. At one at a startup. I got recruited by Verizon, who was one of my clients at a moment in time to go run loyalty marketing for Verizon. And that was really my first pure marketing role. I had a great 16-year run at Verizon, did a number of different things, great organization, great culture. My last role there was I was the CMO of what they call Verizon Connect, which was really focused on connected vehicle technologies. From there, I spent a couple of years at Western Union as their CMO and head of their digital channels. And then here I am at Blackhawk Network.
Jay, that's pretty cool story. Verizon is actually one of our larger clients, so great to hear about that.
Excellent.
So tell us a little bit about how Blackhawk helps companies build out robust customer loyalty programs.
Sure. Yeah. There's, again, like virtually any way you could think of. I mean, there's such a diverse set of use cases, even within the world of loyalty programs. So, one of the more obvious use cases is what we've all probably used as marketers at some point in time is a referral program. Whether you're referring a friend as a new customer, or, maybe it's an existing customer you want to try to get to try a new product or service you're offering, we can enable that for organizations. Maybe you want to engage your basic customers and reward them for retweeting a post or leaving a review. We know how important reviews are, and we do a lot of research, a lot of studies, and what our prospects tell us is they always want, not only do they want to see that 4 to 5 star review, but they want to see lots of them. On average, people say they want to see at least 100 reviews. My old world of telecom, Verizon, we used to run these upgrade incentive programs. So, hey, get $100 towards your new phone, and if you upgrade today. And we would typically drop that onto the customer's bill. And that was a very easy way for us to operationalize it. We figured, hey, that's exactly what customers want, right? They just want the cash on their bill as a credit. But what we found actually over time, as you try to optimize your program, is customers actually prefer to get a gift card. It was overwhelming, the feedback. We would ask them, hey, here are the different ways we could reward you. Tell us what you want. Gift cards, more desirable than a bill credit, which I thought was interesting. And if you think about the psychology of it, like I said at the start, you get excited when you receive that gift card. It almost feels a little bit like free money. So you have this moment between the brand and the consumer that is, it's an equity reinforcing moment for the brand. It's also a guaranteed repurchase. The way we executed our program is we sent them a Verizon gift card, and that was good for any Verizon product or service. Now, the customer could apply it to their bill if they wanted to, but we saw the vast majority of them actually used it to buy something incremental from us. That could have been a headset, some other accessory. It could have been a piece of content that they get off the app store. So look, there's so many different use cases. We could go on and on, but I think, the loyalty programs in particular, given how important they are to businesses right now, I think are, that's sort of right in our strike zone, so to speak, in terms of what we see our customers, where we see the demand coming from our customers.
Jay, employee retention has become a big problem for a lot of companies with a lot of people changing jobs in this economy. So can you talk to us a little bit about how companies can effectively use the rewards program to retain employees?
Sure, yeah. Rewards are, what we find, again, through a lot of our research, is that what consumers feedback is that rewards programs are most effective when they're immediate, meaning you reward me for something I did recently, and they represent real value to me as the recipient. And sometimes it's that second part that's really hard to gauge. What does real value mean? Well, it means something different to me than it might mean to Vincent, right? But as you're setting that program up, you have to make some of those decisions. When we ask respondents of those surveys, 90% of them say that gift cards are the most desired option. And, again, I think it's because of the flexibility they offer to the recipient. Again, I'll go back to my experience at Verizon. I managed the customer loyalty program for a number of years. We would so I talked a little bit about the upgrade incentives, right? But then there was also the incentive for our own teammates to execute those programs. So we would run spiffs. Every sales team has some form of spiff that they run. Well, we would run these in our call centers, and we would use that as an offer or a reward to renewing lines of service or adding new service for customers. So we would give the employee the reward for taking the appropriate action with the customer. A rep might make another $100 in a week, which is great. But again, it would be buried in their paycheck, much like the example I mentioned with the customer where we just drop it on the bill. It's in some respects, it's transparent. It's not very visible to the employee. And when you're giving a reward, you want it to feel tangible. You want it to be visible. So we started looking at Visa gift cards, and overwhelmingly, our employees said, yes, that's what I want. I don't want the cash that gets buried on my paycheck and I don't even notice it. I want the Visa gift card. And so, there at the time, that worked really well for us. And we started to see really good results. But the challenge then was it didn't hit that immediacy factor. It was relevant, but, it took us 6 weeks to get the gift cards out. And, you don't send it every week. So you have to drop them in batches. Well, now that's changed. And now we have tools available to all of us to drive that immediacy of reward. And I think about something like our BHN Rewards platform as a good example. We just launched an integration with Microsoft Teams that you as a manager or you as a peer can instantly reward someone else in the organization through Microsoft Teams. Just drop them a $5 Starbucks card, for example. It's a great way to achieve that immediacy as well as the the relevancy.
I love that, Jay. I am a huge fan of gift cards, and so anyone listening, whoever wants to send me a gift, please do so in the form of a gift card. I'm kidding, but I'm a huge fan of gift cards, and I love that little thing. Something that a nice gesture, a teammate does something for you. I think it's nice. People like getting them. I know even when personally exchanging gifts, oh, it's not as personal. No, give a gift card. They really want that. They just don't say it. Anyway, I'm just going off on a tangent here, but talk to us about, Jay, about how companies can utilize the rewards program, other, financial technology solutions in their own marketing solutions, kind of if they're looking to get new customers. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. Well, back to loyalty programs. I mean, look, 9 out of 10 Americans belong to at least one loyalty program. And my guess is, the three of us here on the call, we could probably think of 5 or 6 right off the top that we belong to. And so, it's key in any loyalty programs, delivering that value both to the consumer and the business. And, we used to, I've mentioned the switching bonuses and the upgrade bonuses that we used to run. Airlines find this is a great way for their members to burn through points. Those points that they carry on their balance sheet are a liability. And one of the best ways to get a consumer to cash those out is to offer them the reward of a gift card or a digital gift. Vincent, just to dovetail on your tangent, you mentioned people do, they have this perception that gift cards are impersonal. And I think that could be true, but there's alternatives to that, and by the way, everyone's different. What's impersonal to you is free cash to me, and I love it, like that. So there's a little bit of knowing your audience, but what we started to do over the last few years based on this feedback is starting to curate these what we call our choice gift cards. And those are gift cards that are thematic. So pack and go, where you've got a bunch of brands that you can use that gift card against, where you're going on a road trip, or retail therapy, you've got a bunch of retail brands. And so point being is that if you understand who you're giving that gift card to, you can wrap it around a theme, that's something that you understand your recipient likes. I like traveling, I like going to restaurants, I'm a foodie, but give them the choice of multiple brands. That, what we have found, is the sweet spot between, giving a gift card, but also making it feel personal. So anyway, I'm digressing. Let me just give you a couple other thoughts though on your question specifically. We've got APIs with companies like Qualtrics, for example. So Qualtrics is a big survey platform. They're a SaaS-based survey platform. And, if you're a business, which many businesses do, run Qualtrics surveys, you can use gift cards integrated within the platform as an immediate way to reward those respondents, to try to get your counts up. If you're running a webinar, we do a lot of webinars. I mentioned all the research we do. We run webinars to educate our customers and prospects on some of those findings. we could reward those participants on the spot with a gift card through the webinar. So again, lots of different examples. And I should mention there are the physical gift cards that we all sort of know and love, but more and more we're operating in a digital world. And what we find is that, more and more the distribution is digital. It's an e-code that you could drop into a wallet or to your Amazon account.
Well, and I want to stick sort of that digital, that kind of theme, but how are NFTs and crypto changing the landscape of your work? Any new changes or trends?
Yeah, there are lots. I mean, I think everyone, whether they want to or not, is trying to figure out how to play in this world. I have a very simplistic view of it. For me, crypto specifically is about choice and accessibility. As I mentioned, our name's Blackhawk Network purposely. We think about that network as our competitive advantage. It's really about our partners, and that's one of our superpowers, is just matching, distribution partners with card partners with consumers. But one of the other ways we try to service our customers is helping them understand how to play in these new worlds. So we've got a partnership with LibertyX, which is allowing consumers to purchase Bitcoin and crypto at hundreds of retailers across the U.S. So we've brought that to some of our distribution partners who want to play in this space. NFTs, I have an even more simplistic view of NFTs, partially because I'm not the target market. I'm not in this day-to-day, like some folks are trading NFTs all over the place. I'm not going to spend, $10,000 on the latest, whatever. I'm going to embarrass myself if I even try to recall the big NFT projects. But to me, NFTs are like marketing candy. It's a new tool we can use. And it's exactly what we did. A few months ago, we ran a promo with one of our card partners on our website, giftcards.com. And, we just wanted to see, hey, if we give away an NFT for the first X number of people that buy this card, what's it going to do? And man, we saw order of magnitude change in performance. Like in 48 hours, we sold out, and which was much faster than we thought we would. And what I think it tells us is, these are tools that can help drive our business. And, as good marketers, we always have to be testing and learning. And, that was a successful test. There are plenty of failed tests that we have done along the way. And, you just have to figure out, especially when you've got new tools like this or the metaverse, what's, where we play, what's our role in this? And that's going to be different for every company.
Jay, a little bit more personal question. So you experience in sales, which is a little bit unusual for marketing sometimes. How has that helped you with the marketing strategy?
Oh my gosh, tremendously. I mean, I will tell you. So I've done a couple of different, what I call sales roles. I managed I managed a sales team in, I think it was 2007, and it was like a month after AT&T and Apple announced they were going to have the iPhone exclusively, and here's Verizon left with nothing. And it was like, we all knew, oh my gosh, this is going to be painful. So they stuck me in sales. I have no idea what the heck they were thinking, but they did. So, and we got through it, thankfully. But, so I did that. I managed, as I mentioned, the digital business at Western Union. So I had that P&L. So I like to consider myself a sales guy because, I had a quota. But I will tell you that the most, and I'll get to your point, I'm taking the long way around. The most impactful sales role I had was actually, I spent a week. This was when I was running a marketing team. I think I was running the loyalty organization at Verizon. I spent a full week, bell to bell at a store, at a Verizon store. So there are a few things I learned from that. One is, even at that time, I was too old to be standing for 8 hours at a time. Man, you can't, if you haven't done a job like that, you don't underestimate how tired you are at the end of the day. But more importantly, what I learned is that up there at the ivory tower, where many of us work in marketing and we design these great programs, man, if they're not executing at the point of purchase, at the point of sale, where the rubber hits the road with the customer, your program will never work. And the other thing I learned is that it's very difficult to understand if you're going to get good execution by sitting in the ivory tower. So it taught me an important lesson, which is go out there into the field, talk to customers, be with employees, sit in the call center and listen to calls for a day, see how these things really go. You'd be amazed. And I think, I think that's good sound advice, not just for marketers, but for any support function. You don't appreciate the impact of your actions until you see it in action.
That's a great way to answer that, Jay. And related to that, how do you make sure marketing has a say on the revenue table?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. And, I would say that used to be a problem. I would say it was a problem for marketers, generally, call it 10, 15 years ago. I think we're now at a point where we're seeing that, marketing does have a seat at the table more often than not always, but more often than not. I would say for me, a lot of it is speaking a common language, being able to talk to the sales team in terms of what motivates them, being able to talk to the finance team in their language, the technology team in their language. And you do need to be all of that as a modern marketer. You need to be part technologist, part financial engineer, part salesperson. So you have to be able to speak the language of your constituents. That's one thing. Second thing, which is sort of related, is bring data to the table. Far too often in the past, I think marketers have gotten sidelined, either because they didn't bring data to the table, or they spoke in their own marketing data language, like brand love and likability. And look, as marketers, we get why that's important, and I'm not underestimating the importance of those brand metrics, but it's very hard for a sales leader who's got a quota, who needs to hit his number today, to appreciate that sort of thing. And so I remember, if I could tell a quick story, hopefully it'll be quick. I've always grown up, as I mentioned, as a quantitative marketer. That's just like how I'm wired. That's what I went to school for. So it's a little easier for me. And that's part of the time and place, by the way, in my career. I happened to be entering marketing at a time where the quantitative marketer was starting to be valued. And remember, this is when email was starting and web marketing was starting. Now, all of a sudden, we had metrics that we could rely on. But I remember there was a moment at my past at Verizon. I was running media and advertising for the wireless business unit. It was like early in the year, we were starting to form our plans for the holiday. And we had a real brand love issue. We had a brand attachment issue. People loved the what I would call the sterile qualities of our service, meaning like, there wasn't emotion involved. They loved the network. They knew we delivered great service, but we weren't getting the emotional connection with our customers. So we were trying to figure out how we solved that, and we were going to wrap it around a big holiday program. And we had this brilliant idea, which was, and our agencies helped us with this. We had sort of an agency bake-off. And the idea that rose to the top was we were going to claim ownership of a holiday. We were going to call it Connection Day. It's the day before Thanksgiving. And think about it. It's the day where America goes mobile, right? They're trying to get to their friends, family, and loved ones to spend Thanksgiving weekend with them. But what do you see and hear all over the news that day? All you see and hear are the snowstorm in Minneapolis, or the delayed flights in New York, or there was a train that got derailed, or whatever. It's all bad news. And it's all about delays to getting to your loved ones. So what we said is like, look, we can play there. We have a space there where we could deliver digital goodies to our customers free of charge on Verizon, make your journey a little more pleasant. And then you're thinking about Verizon in a very positive light as you get ready to do your holiday shopping, right? That was the idea. Well, it landed with a thud with management, because they're like, okay, that's great. We understand but we got to drive sales. Like, this is about Black Friday. What are you talking to me about brand love? And so it was a great lesson, because what we did is we went back, we re-engineered the program. And in fact, we didn't really change the program much, but it forced us to think about where the value was. And for us at that time, the value was not only the brand love, but the fact that we knew tens of millions of people would come to our website, to our landing page. And that represented a massive retargeting pool for your holiday messaging and for your ads and for your special offers. Once we presented that and did the math around that, everyone loved the program, and wound up being our best holiday to that point that we had at Verizon. So it turned out well.
Oh, I know. I love hearing that, and especially when it's like, well, money, money, money. It's about sales. No, it's about people and showing that, and then people remember that, and it'll come back to us. No, I love that story. Jay, Blackhawk Network. In your words, how would you say you separate yourselves from your competitors?
Relationships are important to us. And I know it's easy to say that, and it's hard, it's really the proof's in the pudding around that. So, I hope that if you asked any of our partners, they would say that same thing. And I'm confident they would. And I'll tell you, again, I've been here 4 months, I haven't seen us go through a full cycle, so to speak, but you guys mentioned like getting back together and in-person events, and oh my gosh, how awesome is that? So we've done a couple of partner events over the last month. We brought in all of our distribution partners for what we call our fall planning, which is really about Q1 planning. And then we brought in our sales partners for our partner summit. Man, first off, people love seeing people again. There's just pent up demand for that sort of thing. But, hands down, what I heard, because, my role there was really to just talk to our customers and learn about Blackhawk, learn what we're doing well, what we're not. That was always my question. What are we doing well? What can we improve upon? And, by far the resonant feedback was, you take the partnership seriously. This is about, us coming to the table, meaning our customers with their business problems, and Blackhawk helping to solve that, and not just disappearing once we make the sale, but continuing to work with our partners. And that's why we do a lot of the research and deliver the insights, because ultimately we will succeed if our partners succeed. That doesn't just mean selling them the next, gift card product that we have, but it's more about how they approach their audiences and how they connect with their consumers. And that's how we think about things. And I think that's what our partners appreciate.
Yeah, no, thanks for breaking that down. One of the questions we always like to ask, Jay, is really about like, well, how has the pandemic affected marketing? But let's move past that. Let's talk about really like, what are you excited about at Blackhawk Network the next 6 months? I know you're doing some planning, like you mentioned, about you're really rolling into the year. Are you a traditional year that you guys do your planning? So if so, what are you looking forward to next year there?
Yeah, I am looking forward to, I mentioned earlier, we are a product of a lot of acquisitions. We started within Safeway. That was the origin business. It grew from there. And then over the years, like a lot of businesses, we made a bunch of acquisitions, and we haven't fully integrated all of those acquisitions. And, actually, I would say we've done a really good job in the product and technology world. We haven't yet addressed sort of the front door, right? We've got all these legacy brands across the world that we've just sort of left as legacy brands. And I think there's a real opportunity to roll all of them together, be one Blackhawk Network, reimagine our visual identity and everything else, and start to make sure the equity that we drive and market ladders up to Blackhawk Network and not all of these legacy brands. So, as a marketer, that's something that gets me excited, because, it's not often that you get to do a rebrand like that. And it's a big deal. Like, these are decisions you're making today that hopefully will impact you for the next 10, 20, 30 years to come. So you've got to be very thoughtful about it. So the team right now, we talk about walking and chewing gum. We've got the holiday in front of us, clearly our most important time of year. So we're walking, we're running. But we're chewing gum by planning for the future. And that's what I love. I love those kind of two speeds of operation. And that's sort of squarely where we are right now.
Jay, one of my favorite questions on the podcast, it's one of our staples, is regarding LinkedIn. I'm sure with your title, you probably get twice as much junk, if not more. So would love to know, what's something that you enjoy receiving that you'll actually reply to, and more importantly, what annoys you?
I'll probably offend some people. I apologize. Let's start with the good. I love authentic human stories on LinkedIn because you know what? Look, we all go on there and, oh, I'm so proud to be recognized for this award, or, oh, I just started a new job. And those are important. Don't get me wrong. And that's a big part of what LinkedIn is. It's a professional social networking network. But, every now and then someone posts a really powerful human story that gets you, something that talks about perspective, a child that just overcame cancer, or a loved one that recently passed, and learning about all the things that he or she taught that person. Like, I love those. I really do. I actually spend the time to read those. The things that drive me crazy, you mentioned you get a lot of outreach, is probably the best way to put it. And, every now and then I'll get, hey, Rob, hey, Joey. It's like, well, no, that's not me. And, or you'll get as a marketer at Blackhawk, you're probably worried about blah, blah, blah. It's like, just, the solicitation notes that really get my attention are the genuine ones, probably like the authentic human stories. I've gotten from people like, you're probably not going to read this, but like, those are the ones I read, Yeah. So just because like people are being real.
You have had a great career in marketing with some great organizations and titles. What would you say you attribute a lot of your success to?
Oh, yeah, I definitely time and place. I hate to say it that way because, that's sort of out of people's control. But, I tell my kids this too, because like, when they get discouraged, like they had a bad game or they got a bad score, it's like, look, sometimes just stuff happens, sometimes really good stuff happens, sometimes not so good stuff happens. And that's okay. That's part of life. It's learning. So for me, it's capturing those learnings, taking advantage of the time and place to the extent I can. I screw up plenty of things. I get some stuff right. And hopefully you're going 2 steps forward, 1 step back in that process. And good mentors. Like, honestly, I've been so fortunate to have really good leaders around me. And when you come across a really good leader, like, you latch on to them, not in a sort of weird, creepy, like, way, but like, but like, just you stay in touch with them, you ask them for advice. And, I find that people are always willing to give that to you. I like talking about myself. We all like talking about ourselves. When someone reaches out to you and asks for career advice or life advice, more often than not, they're willing to give it to you. So don't be shy, look for those mentors. And sometimes your mentors aren't official mentors. There's someone that you admire the way they work or what they do. And, you just learn from them as you observe.
And Jay, personal side, what do you like to do for fun? You're out in sunny California there, right? So take me through a weekend. What do you like doing?
Well, weekend these days are all consumed by kids' activities usually. So I've got 3 wonderful kids. I've got an 18-year-old daughter who we just sent off to college, so I'm still
nice.
dealing with that. I've got a 15-year-old boy. He loves running track and cross country, and then a 13-year-old boy who is future Wayne Gretzky. He is a San Diego hockey player. Not a lot of those around.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, so doing kids events. I like to run when I get a chance to. I love traveling. I'm taking my son this winter to my 15-year-old to do the Grand Canyon, which will be fun. So we visited more as tourists a few months ago, and he made me promise I would hike down to the bottom with him and camp down there. So that's what we're gonna do. So that's sort of the thing we like to do. Just a lot of good outdoor activity with the family.
That's amazing. Oh no, we appreciate your time, Jay. We appreciate your story, And, our listeners will, really appreciate that as well. I'm sure of it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Jay Jaffin. He's the CMO of Blackhawk Network. That's Ajay Gupta. I'm Vincent Petrofessa. This has been another episode of The Marketing Stir. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Please like, rate, and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com. And thanks for listening.